The November 28, 2012 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ansello.
Here.
Mr. Antelli.
Here.
Mr. Baroth. Here. Mr. Colby. Here. Mr. Haney. Here. Chairman Howland.
Here.
Mr. Wilcox.
Here. Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There are 2 public forum speakers signed up this evening. Please come forward when your name is called. Our first speaker will be Sally Howard. Our next speaker is Priscilla Peterson. We have handouts. Okay. And right to the podium.
Good evening, and thank you for your attention. I am Priscilla Peterson, a health and wellness consultant, founder and owner of PEP Enterprises. I'm speaking about hydraulic fracturing and its components. I urge you, do not accept any fluid or solid waste resulting from hydraulic fracturing to enter Monroe County. The risk to our air and water quality is, in the words of Dr. Anthony Ingraffia of Cornell University, a case of the health of the many versus the wealth of a few. Fracking for fossil fuels puts our drinking water quality at risk with a secret brew of over 600 hormone-disrupting and cancer-causing chemicals which cannot be purified from the flowback water by any water treatment facility, including ours. Diesel engine exhaust is a known carcinogen and pollutes the air at every step of the fracking process, making natural gas production actually twice as dirty as coal. Imagine thousands of truckloads of waste tearing up local and county roads, dodging school buses, spewing and spilling toxic brine on local farms, wetlands, and homes. Cancer is already the #1 cause of death in Monroe County. Do not put residents at further risk by permitting the introduction of known pollutants into our local environment. Thank you.
Oh, that's it? Okay. Next on the agenda this evening is a presentation on the budget. I'd like to introduce Mr. Scott Adair, Chief Finance Officer of the Finance Department, who is here to present the 2013 proposed Monroe County operating budget as it pertains to the Environmental and Public Works Committee. We will have a question and answer period following the presentation.
And thank you, Chairman Howland, for the opportunity to present the County Executive's proposed 2013 operating and grants budget for Monroe County to the Environmental and Public Works Committee this evening. Just as brief background, we'll give you a little bit of information on the overall budget, and then we'll dive into some particular slides that are relevant to this particular committee and the oversight of the particular departments that this committee has oversight of. Budget summary for 2013, the property tax rate is flat at $8.99. We continue to comply with the Taxpayer Protection Act this county legislature passed in 2007, and also with the New York State property tax cap. Our overall operating budget, the comparable portion from 2012, is up 0.6% or $4.8 million. There's a new segment in our overall operating budget, and that's our Medicaid swap option. As many of you are aware of at this point in time, the county elected to swap our sales tax revenues or receipts for our Medicaid costs starting in 2008. The county experienced over $30 million in savings under that Medicaid swap program, with some changes to the way Medicaid is financed at the local government level by the state legislature this past year. they've allowed us an opportunity to elect to move out of the swap option at this point in time. This slide and this budget, as proposed today, presents the option of Monroe County moving away from paying sales tax, paying Medicaid with sales tax dollars, and paying it with current operating appropriations. The other portion of this budget, which is a small segment, is related to the Environmental and Public Works Committee, is our grants budget. That's down 0.2% from last year. Again, this is a fluctuating number, as all of you are aware of the legislature, that we accept, or you accept, a multitude of grants throughout the year, so this number will increase as we go on from day to day, or from month to month. I mentioned earlier in the presentation that we were compliant with the Taxpayer Protection Act passed by this body. Taxpayer Protection Act really applies to non-mandated spending in Monroe County. The non-mandated spending portion of our budget is up 1.6%, and the reason why this is compliant with the Taxpayer Protection Act, the Taxpayer Protection Act requires us to maintain or have non-mandated spending less than the consumer price index for the area. Consumer price index for the area was approximately 2% for 2013. Mandated spending up over 8.7%. Predominant driver of that is Medicaid costs. And the last area here, which is probably more specific to this particular committee than any of the other committees that we've presented to so far, is non-mandated user fee supported activities. The appropriations for that group of funds or activities is up 0.5% or $500,000. Those activities include things that we'll talk about tonight regarding pure waters districts, solid waste, and the airport, to name a few. It also includes our hospital as well. As we get into the specific slides to the environmental and public works segment of the presentation, our aviation department lowered their appropriations from 2012 from $20.9 million to $20.4 million. This is a continuation of reduced appropriations in our aviation department from 2010. They continue to do an excellent job of controlling costs at the airport while maintaining a first-class airport to provide reliable and safe transportation to our traveling public. This year, the airport faced a significant challenge in the fact that with the merger of Southwest and AirTran, the potential that Southwest could make a decision to move out of this. Through the efforts of the administration in the aviation department and our director Giordano and our county executive, we were able to secure Southwest and potentially even add routes from Southwest as they move forward and continue with the merger with AirTran. The appropriations in this area, predominantly down in commercial services, but it's kind of across the board, and it's a mixed bag of things, and I'm sure we'll go through that in more detail as we get asked questions regarding the Department of Aviation. Moving into our Department of Environmental Services, there's 4 areas that we'll hit upon here today. The most significant one of those is pure waters. As everyone was aware of, the county operates 4 pure waters districts. The pure waters districts, the overall appropriations are down approximately $800,000. This $800,000 reduction is due to a purchase of equipment last year that was made of approximately that same $800,000 for a generator in the Irondequoit South Bay Pure Waters District. Everything else as far as the Pure Waters districts remain flat. There's no fee increases in either the operation and maintenance charge or the capital charges for the districts. In the area of engineering and facilities management, DES is charged with both engineering all of the projects that the county undertakes, as well as making sure that all of our facilities are open for service every day of the year. Effectively, what's happened here is we've seen about $1 million decrease in the appropriations to do that. Predominant majority of this decrease was due to the fact that in our engineering personnel, it was determined during 2012 that 5 members of that staff, or approximately $500,000, spend the majority of their time working on pure waters areas, and so they've been transferred over to the Pure Waters departments to be charged appropriately there. So it's a reduction here and an increase over in the Pure Waters area. The area of solid waste, the county operates both a landfill and recycling facility. They contract the operations of those out. These appropriations are up approximately $800,000. They're in a multitude of areas, some being a contract that I believe was recently approved by this body with the City of Rochester for commercial services regarding refuse and recycling. They are up in the area of public work contracts. We'll talk probably more about that when we get into the question and answer regarding the operating agreement we have with Waste Management and some of the payments that are made with some of our partners regarding our landfill. And then ultimately we have an increase in the agency contracts, which is the Waste Management agreement in total. The last area inside the Department of Environmental Services that we'll speak to tonight, while there's plenty of other ones, this is our area of fleet services. The appropriations here are down approximately $100,000. The decrease here is based on what we have projected as far as budgeting goes for our gas and diesel costs going into 2013 from 2012. With that, that concludes my presentation to the committee. And Chairman Holland, as soon as I get back over the table, we'd be more than willing to take any questions that you or any member of the committee has. Thank you.
The chair will now entertain questions. Legislator Brorath.
Thank you. Well, I'll wait for Scott to sit down. Is it okay? Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, first I'd like to say thank you for the presentation. It was very informative. And I'm just going to start on page 283, which is where we have the major objectives as well as accomplishments. And I was curious about the 7th bullet down on 283, which regards the regional secure stockpile. Through the chair of the administration, it says that it's at currently at desired levels. If it were not, or if it dips down at any time, what sort of funding are we talking about to pay for any sort of changes in these levels? Is it a minor item or a major item? Continued support of health department outreach and regional secure stockpile.
Through the chair, that's logistic support that environmental services provides to the health department to mobilize medical supplies or other materials that we have stored at the county. And again, that's a collaboration that the County Department of Health has with the state of New York.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, under the major objectives for 2013, the third bullet indicates that we're deploying a web EOC. And my question is there an associated annual fee for this, or is this something that's a one-time payment?
Through the chair, that's support is provided through the Department of Environmental Services and GIS to this particular program. I believe there is a fee for service associated with this whenever a program is held out there, but it's not a source of revenue or expense for the Department of Environmental Services.
Thank you. Then through the chair of the administration, so if I'm to understand correctly, it's a variable expense.
Through the chair, that would be correct, yes.
Thank you. On page 285, under the budget summary, under appropriations by object, there's the asset equipment declines from about $2.5 million to $1.6 million, which is a 33% reduction. Are a number of assets being eliminated?
Through the chair, no. As I noted in the presentation, there was a generator purchased in one of the pure water districts, and subsequently it doesn't need to be purchased again this year.
And that's a good thing, too. Okay. And then still under revenues, I note that there is an increase through the chair of the administration, that there's an increase of $330,000 in tipping fees. Is this based on expected increased volume or any changes in fees?
Through the chair, that would be volume.
Volume. Thank you. And then finally, under the budget summary, under revenues, it indicates that there are other revenues, pure waters. Could you please provide some sort of breakdown what these other revenues are? Because $15 million, nearly $16 million is quite a bit.
give us 1 second to find the paper, we'll have that for you
Of course.
through the chair. Through the chair, as you can imagine, with $16 million, there are quite a few. I'll highlight the larger ones, and if that suffices, we can go for there, or we can provide you the detailed list. $11.5 million of that is what we classify as intergovernmental charges, which deal with sludge and septic charges that are associated with the district. $3.4 million of that is pure sewer charges slash rentals, which is effectively the Pure Water's fees. There's interest earnings of $150,000, licenses and permits of $8,300, minor sales of $1,500, other grant contributions of $128,000, and some bond subsidy income from New York State of approximately $600,000.
Okay, thank you. And through the chair of the administration, one minor follow-up. The intergovernmental fees, I assume those are all governments within the Monroe County boundaries, or are there other outside Monroe County as well? Yes, it's totally separate. It's a different division. It's different. I just moved.
Through the chair, the predominant majority of those charges is to other districts, not necessarily other governments, so it's charges in between the Pure Waters districts.
Oh, okay.
We're
Thank
just trying to get clarification on where it was actually being charged to, but the general answer to that is it's charged.
Thank you. I was confused by the term intergovernmental. My apologies. Then I'd like to actually move on to the Division of Engineering and Facilities Management on page 288. Under the revenues and the budget summary, it indicates that there is a miscellaneous other revenues and that there's a reduction of about 65%. Why such a reduction in the miscellaneous revenues of about $800,000 or so?
Through the chair, that would be a grant that no longer exists for this particular department through NYSERDA for greener, cleaner cities. That could reappear during the year.
Oh, so it could come back at some point.
Certainly could.
Okay, thank you. Then, through the chair of the administration, on page 293, I'm trying to go as quickly as possible, under Pure Waters Administration. Am I correct to assume that most, if not all, the administrative functions for all the districts are in fact housed on the Iola campus? Is that not true?
Through the chair, no, that would not be true.
Okay, thank you. Then, through the chair of the administration, moving to page 296, under GIS, I was confused because I recognized in other divisions that where there were reductions in personnel costs, there was often a concurrent reduction in benefit costs. And typically one would expect if a position disappears, so would some benefit costs as well. Here, however, there is an increase in personnel costs with a reduction in benefit costs. Could you please explain how this occurred?
Through the chair, probably the main reason for that, these charges for employee benefits are employee-specific. Could be a reduction in a health plan, somebody moving from a family plan to a single plan, something along those lines. But there's nothing, I can't point to anything specific this evening. Would just give you that general answer of probably a changing in health plan.
And then through the chair of the administration, I would request if you could look into that to see if there's nothing, if that's the case, that's fine. But if there's some other reason for it, I'd appreciate knowing.
Through the chair, certainly.
Thank you. Then moving along to page 297, again, I'm going as quickly as I can, under the Northwest Quadrant District. I note that there are a number of performance indicators for the Northwest Quadrant District, but there are absolutely no performance measures for the Irondequoit Bay South Central District. Why is that?
The Chairman, the performance measures in Northwest Quadrant relate to the treatment plant in Northwest. In Irondequoit, there's no treatment plant there. It's just simply conveyance. So that's why you don't see the performance measures there in Irondequoit.
Then through the Chair of the Administration, but there must be some sort of performance measure to indicate they're doing their jobs, correct?
Through the Chair, certainly, but historically we've provided performance measures as it relates to plant performance as well as the collection system operation as reflected in this budget.
Okay. A follow-up question on page 297, and this is a matter of confusion for me because I rely upon the budget for my information, of course, but it indicates that the Northwest plant has an average daily capacity of 16 million gallons per day, but on the next page, in 298, it says that the average daily flow was actually 17.9 million gallons a day, and in fact it would be 16.4 in 2013. Are we at or over capacity for this plant?
Through the Chair, we have a permitted capacity of 22 million gallons per day, so we are below the average flows that are being represented here.
Thank you. But through the Chair of the Administration, would that permanent capacity is one that, my understanding is, would not allow for any maintenance to occur if that were to occur on a regular basis, correct?
Through the Chair, that's an average daily capacity that's in our state issued permit. There are times where we see peak flows above that, and that's within the permit. But, again, we're operating below that average daily capacity.
Okay. Thank you. And then shifting gears entirely now, if you happen to go to page 771, there are 3 positions listed there under security, related to security, but isn't M3S taking over the security function there? At page 771.
Through the Chair, that is actual security guards in the buildings here, that function is not being taken over by the Public Safety LDC.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you very much. And then under the same line, there are 3 authorized positions for a business agent DES. What exactly is that? I'll expose my ignorance here. My apologies.
Through the Chair, the business agent title is a classification. The DES area has its own, I'll call it, business office. So there are a number of individuals that are working over there specifically related to, I'll call it, grants writing, customer service, potentially even billing issues regarding regarding all the areas that DES covers, as well as the purchasing function of DES, because it is so specific to an area.
Okay, thank you. Then moving on to page 616. Which is the appropriations for the DES Engineering Administration Division. Under professional services, there's a spike. It went from 2011, $39,000 up to over $1 million, and then it went down again for 2013 to $150,000. What was that spike?
Through the Chair, that would be the NYSERDA grant that we spoke of earlier.
Thank you. See if, my apologies again if it's not late. We'll have to guess my way through. I appreciate that. And then finally, on page 70, is on Environmental Services Solid Waste Administration, which I'm imagining is page 737. Yes, it is, page 737. Under the appropriations, it has a miscellaneous of $6.2 million in 2011. It's up to $7 million in 2013. It's about 50% of the total budget. What is this miscellaneous?
Through the chair, you've hit upon one of my pet peeves when we classify something as miscellaneous that's larger than most of the other revenues in an area. But effectively what that is there's $3.2 million associated with electricity sales from the landfill.
Okay.
And that's the largest piece of it. There's a $2 million, $1.9 million Town of Riga host fee that's provided for through the contract with Waste Management. That's the revenue that comes into the county and subsequently gets paid over to the Town of Riga. There is a $740,000 Water Authority water line lease debt where it gets paid into us and then ultimately paid out for the debt service on that. There's a number of other things that are much smaller in scale than that. We can provide the list or we can continue to go through them, whatever satisfies your curiosity.
Or my need to know, as the case may be, through the chair. Thank you. And my last, final question, I promise, is under aviation. And I noticed on page 77 that there is an estimate of 16% increase in the number of sheriff calls for service at the airport. Why is this expected increase in sheriff calls?
Through the chair, that would be based on historical information of what we've seen and also with an increase in traffic load at the airport that is anticipated for 2013. So it's just sort of a functionary equation that gets you to that 16% increase.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to ask a question? Legislator Haney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few questions, Mr. Chairman. In the fleet division on page 306, there's a reference, it talks about the vehicles that are maintained at the fleet center, and it refers to light-duty vehicles. Does that include automobiles?
Through the chair, that would be yes.
Yes, okay. Through you, Mr. Chairman, is the sheriff's fleet maintained at the fleet center as well as all the other county vehicles?
Through the chair, that would be yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving into solid waste, on page 286, it talks about $3,192,000 of revenue being received from the sale of electricity at Mill Seat. Out of the $3,192,000, how much does the county get to keep?
Through the chair, after, as you're very familiar with the agreement with Waste Management, there are certain expenses that are taken out after the revenues come in. The net gross to the county is $400,000 through that agreement with Waste Management. So after all the expenses are paid and the revenues are received, the county is entitled to $400,000 in this budget.
Legislator Haney. In respect to your seniority and your experience, I will allow you, and you to be the only one not to have to say through the chair this evening. Because you haven't done it the last 3 times anyways.
Well, certainly,
You are now exempt.
even though age goes before beauty, I wouldn't claim any of those rights. Through the chair, we only get to keep 10% of the proceeds from the electricity sales? In effect, less than 10% of the proceeds?
Through the chair, we receive 41% of the net revenue, of the gross revenue, that is after expenses are taken out for debt service and operations and maintenance.
So we get 41% of net revenues,
Through the chair, that's correct.
and the other 59 is going to waste management?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Through the chair, the budget book indicates that in the coming year, we are going to enter into phase 2 of this electricity generation project, which is a very good project, obviously. Do we have any prospect that we might be able to strike a better deal and net more of the money for the county?
Through the chair, the plan itself and the agreement as far as the sharing is still in negotiations at this point in time. We would anticipate, hopefully, a better return on the investment ultimately at the end of the day, but that is still an ongoing process at this point in time.
Thank you. Through the chair, the Solid Waste Fund had a deficit at the end of last year of almost $12 million, $11,935,000. And it lost $3.9 million in 2011, according to the CAFR. And it's budgeted, the budget is showing that it breaks even in 2012 and 13, which means that this $12 million deficit that just will be rolling forward. This deficit is causing our enterprise funds as a whole to show a deficit when all the enterprise funds are added together. Do we have any hope? Is there a plan? Obviously, we have hope. Is there a plan for recovering this? What caused this huge deficit in the solid waste fund, and do we have a plan for recovering the deficit?
Through the chair, the initial plan for this evening is to win the Powerball lottery and refund all the deficits that are included in any of the enterprise funds at this point in time. But seriously, effectively what we're looking at here is an issue of a long-term projection in the solid waste fund to return it to what I loosely refer to in the government world as profitability in order to alleviate that fund balance. And with the addition of these additional electricity plants out there or power generation plants, they will continue to provide revenue beyond what the expenses will be. In the next couple of years, what we'll see is the debt service expense for the landfill fall off while those plants are up and operating, which we're paying back now for, and continued increasing on the revenue side of that to hopefully eliminate the deficit over I would love to say a very short period of time, but I think we're looking at least a series of 3 to 5 years probably before that deficit is eliminated. But certainly moving in a positive direction over that time frame.
Good, very good, thank you. Moving into building operations. On page 626, account 504-270, local transportation parking. Is this still all related to the two West Main Street parking lots?
Through the chair, that is correct, yes.
The lease renew, through the chair, the lease renews on one of the parking lots on January 13, 2013. The notice of non-renewal, unfortunately, would have had to have been served on the owner on January 1st, 2012. I take it we didn't serve a notice of non-renewal, and my question would be, why? What, do we have any county use for those parking lots?
Through the chair, you are correct. We do anticipate having that lease in existence in 2013. And the plan right now is you may or may not be aware of, there is some significant redevelopment going on this side of the city, which the city and the county have co-commissioned a parking study regarding this. And the parking study, to look at what the parking needs are for the west side of the city effectively in the downtown area. And effectively what the preliminary draft of that parking study has shown us is that there is a distinct need for additional parking spaces on this end of the city, of the downtown area. And these two particular lots that we speak of are prime candidates for some type of a parking facility to go in there. So at the present time, it is our anticipation that this allows for the flexibility for that type of improvement to that site or any other additional opportunities that the county may have to have property in the downtown area to be able to expand any facilities that are necessary as we continue down the path.
Thank you. Through the chair, we in turn lease these parking lots to Civic Center Parking Garage, Inc., don't we? Or do we?
Through the chair, that is correct.
But as I recall from past discussions through the chair, we only get paid something like $30,000 a year for that sublease.
Through the chair, I think the total revenues on that sublease and the arrangement is approximately $200,000 to $250,000 a year.
Oh, it is that high?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. The lastly, in the area of pure waters, through the chair, the Arundequoit South Central District. This district this district had a cash deficit of $1.7 million at 12/31/10 and $1.3 million at 12/31/11. And it had an unrestricted fund deficit of $2.2 million at the end of 2010 and $2 million at the end of 2011. It certainly looks as if the City District and the Northwest District are financially carrying the Arundequoit South Central District. Don't we need to increase the fees in the Arundequoit South Central District to resolve this problem?
Through the chair, as you may recall, we did exactly that last year in 2012 as part of the budget for those districts. So we are anticipating improvement as we've seen this past year regarding Arundequoit South Central, and would hope that that additional revenue from the increased fees will continue to move that more towards a positive direction from not only a cash perspective but also from a fund balance perspective.
So the increase that through the chair that we enacted as of I guess it was as of January 1, 2012, you expect will resolve this difficulty over a reasonable period of time?
Through the chair, if you define reasonable for me, I will probably answer affirmatively to that. But yes, I think the short answer to it is
3 years?
thank you, yes.
Okay. In Pure Water's administration, the Pure Waters building that's located on the Iola campus, last year's budget, as I recall, and I'm mentally recalling, which is dangerous, projected that we were going to sell the building. Is that idea still live, or?
Through the chair, there is no anticipation in this budget to sell that facility at this point in time.
The administrative functions of all of the Pure Waters District are performed in that building, are they not?
Through the chair, no, I did a follow-up on, I believe it was a Legislator Barras question regarding that as well. I think Director Garland would like to kind of give a little overview as to where the administrative functions are housed.
Through the chair, the building located on the Iola campus is referred to as the Rochester Operations Center, or affectionately known as the ROC. We house our crews, our sewer maintenance crews there that do the daily routine maintenance in the Rochester the Rochester Pure Waters District. We're also deployed out to the GCO district as well. Manage and maintain the tunnel systems. So it is purely an operations center for our sewer crews to work from. We store our vehicles there as well, and we have offices for managers there too, lockers and showers. The administrative function for Pure Waters is really resides on the 7th floor of City Place. That's where all of our business service functions are performed. Myself and my senior staff are located there as well too.
But through the
Excuse me, Legislator Haney? Please.
Through the chair, are the functions that are performed in that building out there only for the city district, or are they for other districts as well?
Through the chair, they do perform services for the other districts where we have sewer assets. Again, primarily pump stations, interceptors, pipes. They'll be deployed where the needs are, and we'll charge back those districts accordingly through a work order process.
Right. Through the chair, back in, I think it was 2002, the City Pure Waters District bought that building for $1 million from the county. And the theory was that it was being used for Pure Water's purposes and primarily for the city district, etc. But if other districts are being served, some functions of other districts are being served out of that district, how does the city district get credited, in effect, since it had to buy the building? How does the city district get credited for the use of its space?
Through the chair, all costs associated with the operation and maintenance of that building are charged back to districts accordingly.
I'm sorry, through the chair, I didn't catch the end of that.
All costs associated with the operation and maintenance of that building are charged back to the respective districts, all 4 districts. So there are
through the chair, on some kind of a methodology that recognizes the respective uses of the building?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. On page 617 in the Gates-Chili-Ogden district, there's a line item, agency contracts, $2,035,000. Through the chair, could you give us some idea as to what those agency contracts are?
Through the chair, that would be treatment and transmission costs.
And through the chair, that probably answers my next question, because through the chair, my next question was going to be, I don't see how or where the Rochester district is being compensated for treatment at Van Laer of the Gates-Chili sewerage. But I take it from what you say that it's in this $2,035,000. Is that being paid to the city district?
Through the chair, that is correct, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I extend my thanks to Mr. Adair and the staff for their very thorough answers to my questions.
Any further questions? There being none, we'll close the presentation and continue on with the agenda. The next thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes. The next item, you have the October 24th, 2012 minutes of the Environment and Public Works Committee meeting before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified by any change by the end of the day. Okay. Madam Clerk, new business?
Referral 12-342, authorized contracts with Day Engineering, PC.
Moved by Legislator Ansello, seconded by Legislator Colby. Is there any discussion? Legislator Haney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, there are several proposals on the agenda tonight for the approval of, for lack of a better term, I'll call open contracts with engineering firms, etc. In specialized places like the hospital and Pure Waters and that like, I guess I understand that, but these contracts, which I take it are just for general engineering services, are for a relatively small amount of money. I think the total aggregate is only $200,000 or something like that. Shouldn't we, or don't we have, through the chair, don't we have the capacity for doing that in-house, or shouldn't we have the capacity for doing that kind of general engineering work of that relatively small scope in-house?
Through the chair, Jason Kennedy, Chief Engineer with DES. To the question regarding if we have the capacity, no, generally speaking, we do not. We have a fairly lean staff of engineers, project managers, effectively, that work with our consulting partners to manage our major capital projects. And as these contracts, as this contract, environmental consulting references, we often have smaller, short notice environmental type needs where we rely on those consultant services to assist us in quick turnaround in addressing those needs in a timely fashion. So no, we do not have, generally speaking, the expertise on hand to work on these projects.
Through the chair, have we reduced our in-house capabilities, capacity in the recent years?
Through the chair, I think at one time, a few decades ago, there might have been 75 some odd staff member in what was formerly the Department of Engineering. I think a decade or two ago, it was down to 55, and now we're presently at approximately 10 folks on staff. So yes.
10 people is all you have?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Well, then my question through the chair becomes, have we shot ourselves in the foot? I mean, we've reduced our in-house capability, but now we're having to enter into all these contracts with outside consultants and engineers, et cetera. Have we really examined whether that's more efficient than having in-house capability?
Through the chair, we do have a host of very accomplished and capable consultants in the Rochester community, and we do feel by managing our projects in this manner with their support as an extension of our staff that we are doing it very efficiently and very effectively, yes.
So through the chair, it's your professional judgment apparently that it is more efficient to use outsiders than they have our own in-house capability?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any further questions? We'll proceed to vote. All those in favor? Opposed? It's passed.
Referral 12-344.
Moved by Legislator Colby, seconded by Legislator Antelli. Is there any discussion? Legislator Haney.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, this is the first, we have in the past used construction managers on very large projects. And I understand why it makes a lot of sense on large projects because you have to have in effect four, with the Wicks law, you have to have four independent contractors on site, et cetera. But this is the first time, at least to my knowledge, that we've entered into, for small projects, construction managers. Why would you need a construction manager on a small project?
Through the chair, we believe that CM services can be beneficial and helpful on some of our smaller projects, particularly in the area of estimating, on occasion taking a look at building estimating, peer review of constructability, if you will, of some of our projects. And so this contract would give us the ability to bring them on board to look at kind of case-by-case specific needs.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I mean, between this and the prior item, and I know nothing about construction or engineering or anything like that, but it sounds like we've reduced our in-house capability so severely that it's practically impossible for us to do anything in-house without hiring consultants. I mean, are we sure we haven't over-chopped our in-house capabilities?
Through the chair, yes, we're comfortable and confident in our ability to deliver services to the county and its various client departments, if you will, particularly in the areas and needs of capital projects and project delivery.
I hope you're right.
Any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Referral passes.
Referral 12-345.
Moved by Legislator Antelli, seconded by Legislator Ansello. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroth.
Through the chair to the administration, the referral mentioned several consultants were considered. What other consultants were considered?
Through the chair, 6 consultants were considered, including SWBR. Other consultants included Clark Patterson, Hunt, Clark Patterson, Hunt, KCI, DeWolf Joint Venture, Popley, Razik.
Through the chair of the administration, were there two more, or was that all?
Those were all 6 firms. I can repeat them. Clark Patterson Lee is one firm.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Hunt, KCI DeWolf was a joint venture, Popley, Razik, and then, of course, SWBR.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Legislator Wilcox.
Thank you. Through the chair, is this the first year we've had a contract like this, or are we sort of reauthorizing a contract?
Through the chair, yes, we have had this contract in the past, and this is a reselection.
Okay. Through the chair, could you tell me how many years have we had contracts like this specific one?
I believe, certainly I could speak to the fact that we've had a prior 5-year contract. It was an initial term with 4 renewals. Yeah, I think it was 5-year period before that, too, for a total of 10.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Referral passes.
Referral 12-346.
Moved by Legislator Ansello, seconded by Legislator Colby. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Referral passes.
Referral 12-347.
Moved by Legislator Colby, seconded by Legislator Antelli. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The referral passes.
Referral 12-349.
Moved by Legislator Antelli, seconded by Legislator Ansello. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroth.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, it mentions that several consultants were considered. Again, what other consultants were considered?
Through the chair, there were actually 4 consultants considered: Martin LaJudas, Lou Engineers, Clark Patterson Lee, and Erdman Anthony.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Referral passes.
Referral 12-351.
Moved by Legislator Ansello, seconded by Legislator Colby. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Referral passes.
Referral 12-357.
Moved by Legislator Colby, seconded by Legislator Antelli. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Referral passes.
Referral 12-359.
Moved by Legislator Antelli, seconded by Legislator Ansello. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroth.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, I note that the agreement that is discussed in here is a residual agreement, and they mentioned that non-signatory airlines will be charged a surcharge on the published signatory rates. Is it expected that there will be any non-signatory airlines?
Through the chairman, yes.
Thank you. And through the chair to administration, approximately how many would you be expecting? A couple? Dozens?
Through the chairman, depending on the affiliates that fly for the main carriers, anywhere from 6 to 12.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Opposed? Referral passes. That's the end of our referrals.
Yes.
Okay, is there any unfinished business to come before this committee? There being none, there's being no further business, the November 28th, 2012 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting will be December 19th, 2012.